So welcome, and let us take a moment of silence before we start with the readings today. Invoking Mother's and Sri Aurobindo's presence. Bringing the mind fully in the here and now, in the present moment. So we'll just pick up the threads from the book. I just kind of randomly pick it up, not really any continuity. So today I was just browsing through when we were joining. So I think we should maybe just look at it again. And we have done this earlier, Wednesday, December 30, 1925, but just looking at it again and then going a little further and taking up something else. So yeah, because this I was going through it, and this is a kind of a continuing practice, which no matter how many times we may read, but we have this curtain of blindness in front of us, and when other things are becoming too important, we forget that we have read it, and oh, I could have practiced that. So happens with me many times. So I realize that it is there, this curtain of blindness and ignorance is there, and that is why we have to continuously keep reminding ourselves in some or the other way, whether it is a collective discipline or our individual discipline, so that we know that we have these tools at hand, and uh, we can make use of whatever circumstances that are there, no matter how difficult or challenging. We always have some tools or the other, but we at times we forget the tools because the appearing condition or the outside situation becomes just too engrossing. So we forget. Yeah, so we'll go through this one. If anyone would like to read, that would be nice.
Yeah, Monica, I'll read.
Okay.
Wednesday, December 30th, 1925. I succeed for a few minutes in keeping myself attentive, empty of thought. But then the sensations return with a new strength. I do not succeed in turning away from a noise once my attention is caught there, for I have no object of concentration. The first step is not to withdraw from all thought and sensation, but to consider them as outside oneself. There are two regions in the mind, one active, the other calm and attentive, not dragged away by the movements of nature. I'll read it again. There are two regions in the mind, one active, the other calm and attentive, not dragged away by the movements of nature. It is this distinction that you must make. You want to go too fast by suppressing even the thought. I am not that. At the moment, this thought is your instrument. I'll read again. You want to go too fast by suppressing even the thought. I am not that. At the moment, this thought is your instrument. Remain the spectator of your thoughts and sensations, recognizing that they are outside you and do not affect you. Remain the spectator of your thoughts and sensations, recognizing that they are outside you and do not affect you. Then the higher consciousness, Purusha consciousness, will descend and take possession of your mind. But never struggle, for in the mind, what you reject violently returns with a greater force. To struggle is to enter into all sorts of difficulties. Beautiful. Thank you, Monica.
Yeah, thank you. So I found that this particular bit was like, we can maybe write it down for ourselves and maybe paste it somewhere so that we keep reminding of it again and again. So Jetsunma also talks about the same thing in another similar way. Actually, she says that we have two kind of levels of our mind, and she says one is, of course, the mind where happenings are happening, thoughts and the surface active mind, feelings and emotions and everything. And then there is that part of our mind which she says in Sanskrit that we call as sati or smriti, which is the one which can look at these movements and try to which can be observant of these happenings. So there was this talk by Jatsunma, the four immeasurables. I think I had shared it somewhere, don't know which group. So on the first day, D1, P1, the four immeasurables by Jitsunma, there it is very crisp and clear. She shares about this one level of mind which is always like what we say as Prakriti, movements are happening, and then we have this aspect of the mind which is more like witness and passive aspect, which is always observing. And it can also steer, like she says that when we are meditating and we see that, oh, I was with breath and now I am again swept away. So this part of the mind, this aspect of the mind, it looks that, oh, I am again swept away, and brings it back to the breath. So this aspect of observation, because if I'm not observing, how will I ever bring it back? But because I am observing, so she says not to feel guilty that, oh, I strayed back again, and not to kind of enter into again loopy thoughts, but rather just like very objectively, the moment it slips away, again bring it back. 1,000 times, innumerable times, we have to keep doing the same. So here Sri Aurobindo also talks about this aspect, that there are two regions in the mind. One is active, which is like all the turmoils and the active chatter, and the other is calm and attentive, not dragged away by the movements of nature. So it is this distinction that you must make. So again, when we try to fight with the mind, as Sri Aurobindo says here, that when we try to struggle with the mind, then of course it's a lost battle, because it's just endless. So just knowing that whenever there are emotional disturbances or mental lots of mental noise and chatter, I don't have to feel frustrated because of that. I just have to keep looking at it and taking my stance, or identifying more with the calm and attentive aspect, which is looking, and then it can steer it back to, say, a divine name, or in the present moment. We can bring the mind back in the present moment through that observing aspect of the mind. So that is why I think in meditation there is this, when we do breath meditation, they call it Anpan Sati. And Sati is Pan means like inhale, exhale, and Sati is like a kind of a calm attentiveness, which is a very loyal attentiveness. Because when we use, I feel, again, just trying to join the dots, I feel that symbolically, when we used to use this word Sati in Indian, whatever tradition earlier, so Sati is something like who is very loyal, that she is ready to be burned with the husband, for example, Sati. I feel that that is why this loyalty is here also, that I'm loyal to the incoming breath and the outgoing breath, and I'm not, I'm, that attentiveness is continuously maintained uh, as much as possible. So this, yes.
Yeah, Satina, I've heard that it basically signifies focus, like, single pointed focus, that soch liya to soch liya. So even before the pratha of sati, the satis were, there were few ladies, like few women who were given the title of a sati for their extreme, like you said, loyalty and focus. And no man has ever been given that, had heard in some talk, because for them to have that level of devotion or concentration, like that was not possible. But then it was taken in another way. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So yes, actually that resonates because in Buddhism also, when we were reading the earlier 8 verses, जो हमने पहले किए थे heroic heart में, we had done these 8 verses, Lojong training 8 verses. There also there was this supreme practice is non-distraction. So again that comes focus into the picture. So non-distraction means that of course there would be surface movement, but I would not get distracted by the surface movement. I keep my focus as much as possible, and increasing in further degrees, increasing it. Nice. So yeah, so if this is very practical, this is very handy because this is our daily life. Our daily life is full of these thoughts and sensations from outside, which most of the times are troubling, and not only troubling, even when they are pleasant. The pleasant thing very soon changes into some trouble. Like if somebody praises us and we take it to our heart, then very soon when the person insults us or rejects us, and an opportune moment comes where he's kind of blaming us for something, that also I will take it to my heart, because in the praise time I actually took it to my heart that I am to be praised. So that is why Kabir ji says that remain aware and vigilant even when there are good times. Because in good times, if I am not taking the good appreciation and praises and all the uh, accolades at a distance, that I am the witness of all these happenings and not really the doer. If I'm not doing in good times, then when the bad times, so called, when things are not happening according to my whatever, to boost my ego up, then of course it hits me very hard. So that's why he says that jo sukh mein sumiran kare to dukh kahe ka hoye. Because we are swept away in these good and pleasant and very nice thoughts, we like to ruminate. And you would have seen, all of us must have seen, that when there are good things happening with us, like in our relationship we have good times, and in workplace we are applauded and people praise us, and if there I am not aware, I am not stepping back, we like to actually ruminate about these thoughts. We like to do a jugali of these, regurgitate, like a cow is chewing all the time on this cud that is there in her mouth. So like that we do jugali. And when we are doing a rumination, then we lose ourselves in those thoughts and we are not the witness anymore. We think that, oh, I did that. So then when anything happens which is a kind of a discouraging blow, then of course there also I take it to my heart, because that attention, that disentangled aspect, that me as the spectator and the witness and then the happenings, that is already lost in the good time. So that is why practice continues irrespective. Of course, the difficult times push us to practice, because then it is getting too painful, and it is good, that to see that why it is causing so much of pain, we have to kind of, push ourselves, and we are able to dissociate. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to even live at times. But in good times, it's more easy to get complacent and lose the focus. So what we have to be aware of are the good times actually. The difficult times we can be sure that some or the other path will show up. But the good times, we are just caught unaware. So keeping the practice continued, and the focus and the vigilance also continued when there are good times. Good times mean again that which is boosting to the ego, and I'm feeling good about myself, and things are happening according to how I would like them to be. All these things. There are no relatively hard and challenging issues in my life. These are the good times where we actually settle down in tamas and become complacent, and at times also sink in our practices, in the sense that we kind of lose that intensity of the practice at times. Yeah. Yeah. So remain the spectator of your thoughts and sensations, recognizing that they are outside you and do not affect you. Then the higher consciousness, Purusha consciousness, will descend and take possession of your mind. But never struggle, for in the mind what you reject violently returns with a greater force. To struggle is to enter into all sorts of difficulties. So I feel that the whole bit is very, very helpful for our day-to-day practice. That's why I thought we should take this up again. So any comments here before we move to the next reflection or passage?
Um, just to add on, so I was reading this book, A Cave in the Snow, and that's when it was mentioned about sati being mindfulness. So for me, this was new because we always associate it with the practice of sati. So she mentioned over there about meditating and being able to mindfully focus. So I think partly what Taru mentioned was, yeah, about this.
Yes, yes. Anything more? Anyone? So we take this one. Yeah, if anyone wants to read, please go ahead.
Sorry, I cannot read. I don't see anything.
That's okay. I think some of us may be ready.
Yeah, should I?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah, Monday, January 15th, 1926. I am progressing, but slowly. I have not been able to apply the will as you described it. In this connection, a curious thing happens. In meditation, when I look for a higher support in myself, when I try to invoke the deeper parts of my being, I meet only a void, and I am incapable of making any inner movement. Naturally, in ordinary life, either under the impulsion of outer excitement or the proprio, such movements followed by results are frequent. And usually, though meditation has very perceptible effects on my general state, it has never had any tangible result. There are two principal forces which help in the ascent of man. One is aspiration. It is emotive and has its center in the solar plexus. The other is supramental and its center is above the head. You act in ordinary life with the help of the first. In meditation, your consciousness goes back into the higher mind. The silence aspired for is not for itself, but only in order to let this higher force descend and rejoin the other. The old allegory of the climbing fire and the descending sun. But your mind is not used to letting this force pass consciously and consequently. It does not know how to act. I'll read that again. But your mind is not used to letting this force pass consciously, and consequently, it does not know how to act. There is no effort to be made then. In your case, it is better to remain immobile. Naturally, this depends on different cases. There are people very active above the head who draw easily from this force. Later, one succeeds in calling it down at will.
Thank you. So again, this is also very practically helpful for us, those of us who are serious or sincere or maybe wanting to make it a part of life. So one is aspiration, its center is so Sri Aurobindo and Mother, they talk about this emotive heart, which is front part of our heart. So front part of our heart, Sri Aurobindo and Mother talk about being the emotive center, where, for example, जब हमें jealousy होती है, whenever we are jealous or when we are like happy, we see that the front part of our heart can be felt, we kind of feel our sensations there more. And I have felt that in the disturbing parts, like as I said, like jealousy or maybe feeling constricted when the ego is hurt, we feel it more in the front part of our heart. And through that we can actually enter, if we let it shatter enough, we can actually enter the psychic being, which is the depths of our heart. So that's why Mother says that at times we feel that, oh, I'm very emotional and sentimental and nothing can happen of me, I can't do yoga, or these kind of things. But actually those of us who have lots of intensity and do take things emotionally, they also have the capacity to reach the psychic quickly, because it's like just here, not really far away. So front part, the emotive part, if we let it, one can say, if we take the lessons nicely and use it in our highest possible manner, then we can enter the psychic quickly, much quickly than coming from the mental domain. And maybe I think the body is also quite quick. So here Sri Aurobindo says that there are two principal forces. One is this aspiration, which is coming from the emotive heart, emotive center. So what do we mean by that? Again, sharing my reflection of it, that whenever we are very troubled, we all must have seen, like life happenings are happening in the way that we think that kahan phas gaya ke, why is life so difficult? Why is life a struggle? And at times we think that why did I ever like do children, because if it is so difficult for me, my children have to go through the same misery. It's so hard at times, so that aspect we are feeling in the emotive heart. And there the aspiration rises to transcend all this bhasad, or all the entanglement and uh, the basic chaos of life, because somewhere we know that this is not it, there is something beyond it also, if only I can be shown the path. So to show me the path, I then have this prayer, for example, this asato ma sadgamaya, like take me from falsehood to that which is eternal. They take me from tamas and darkness to that which is full of light. So when we are troubled very much in our emotive heart, from there the aspiration arises and rises upwards, that please, this is not it. Somewhere I know that this is not it, and take me towards the higher. Hmm? So take me from chaos to sanity, or peace, non-peace to peace. All this aspiration is rising in the emotive heart. So one center is this, that's what we see here, that one is the aspiration, which is the center is emotive, center in the solar plexus, and the other is supramental, and its center is above the head. Now this we see in conversations with Pavitra coming up again and again, very very helpful center, that if we focus our center not in the brain lodged consciousness, where all the time we are thinking about the sensory input and the interpretations of the sensory input, that who said what to me and what happened to me, this bodily form, and now I have to make sense of it. If all the time we are in the brain lodged consciousness, it seems like an endless going on and on and on. We don't have resolutions there. We may have relative resolutions, but then very soon they turn again into some entanglement. But the true resolution we find above, like 3-4 inches above the head, and there we see that if we try to focus attention 3-4 inches above the head, then it is not possible to parallelly think. This we must have experimented, because we have read it earlier also, that parallelly you cannot keep thinking about all the things in your life if you are placing attention above 3-4 inches above your head. So what we are doing is we are trying to bring a kind of a certain sanity in our being by not giving petrol or fuel to all the chatter and noise of the mind. So what we are doing is we are cleaning up our mind also, and kind of preparing a field so that in that empty field, the higher consciousness can descend. Usually my cup is always full of garbage, and this Sri Aurobindo shared that man's nature is like a cup of dirty water. You throw it once and then you actually fill it up again. You again throw it and then you again fill it up again. We do it again and again. And so we are not convinced that these thoughts will not give me anything. These disturbing feelings will not give me anything. We are convinced that if I continue to think about these things, someday I will actually get happiness from this samsaric worldly life. So once we are convinced that the true happiness that I am seeking, the true contentment I am seeking, I have tried enough, I have attempted enough, and I know that I'm not going to get it all from all these ruminations and trying to connect dots and the logical analytical mind, then we can actually rise above it. So when we place attention above it, above the head, above the brain lodged consciousness, then Sri Aurobindo says that slowly it happens that you have some or the other form of a descent of consciousness. So ascent is the aspiration and descent is the coming down of that light. So like imagine that you're living in a basement and it's very dark and dingy in the basement. So what you do is you aspire that, oh please give me some light. You make your hands like, if you can see some light somewhere, you say that here is my hand, can someone please give me some light. So you go above, you aspire for that light because there is darkness in the basement, and then you don't just go to the light, you actually bring the light down, because the moment you open the doors, the light automatically comes down in the basement, doesn't it? It happens, even materially we see it happening, that the moment a kind of a door is opened from above, we don't have to do anything. That light just comes down into that darkness of the basement. So the lower nature is that a kind of a basement where all the unwanted stuff is there, which now has become unwanted. Earlier it may have some value. When we were animals, when we were stone consciousness, when we were plants, all of these have some value. But now they have become not required. They have become harmful even. So now we seek, and then there is descent, and when the descent is there in the lower consciousness, then the lower nature will change slowly, and the thoughts will become pure, the feelings will become pure, and the body, the cells will also regain their true immortality, and slowly all of that has to happen. So anything here, anyone? And this immobility is also very important, because he says that the silence aspired for is not for itself. It's not just, oh, I just want to be silent and let me be silent, not like that. But actually we are cleaning the ground so that the higher can descend. So we are preparing the ground for the higher to descend, because it's not just a nullity that we have to have, like a nothingness. No, in that nothingness, something has to get planted, something has to get kind of manifested. So he says that the silence aspired for is not for itself, but only in order to let this higher force descend and rejoin the other. The old allegory of the climbing fire and the descending sun. But of course we are not used to it. So he says that Your mind is not used to letting this force pass consciously, and consequently, it does not know how to act. There is no effort to be made then. In your case, it is better to remain immobile. So, when we have a relative silence in our being, in our mind and vital, then the best is to remain as much still as possible. Because when we will be inwardly, not like we freeze in the body and we are not doing our active day-to-day works because, oh, I have to be immobile. It's like an inner immobility, if you know what it means. No? Inner immobility means nothing is moving. So no restless movement of energy here and there, because out of our experiences we have realized that that doesn't take us anywhere. So that conviction is there, and that helps us in that immobility. And when that immobility is there, it's like somebody is pouring tea in your cup, and if your cup is shaking, how will the person ever be able to pour the tea nicely? No? So if the cup is stable, solid, it is not moving, then the force can descend nicely. So immobility is required along with that silence. Peace, silence, and immobility. So anything more here? Anyone wants to add on? So as he is sharing here, that slowly what happens is that with practice, we can call it at will, like we can have that connection at will. So if we practice, and that practice becomes a part of our nature, like we do it and we want to do it, so then whenever required, like when maybe there is a decision to be made, or we are feeling that maybe too much swept away, we can actually at will have that focus and concentration and have that connection immediately. So that's what he's sharing here, that slowly in time, later one succeeds in calling it down at will. So that descent earlier, of which we had just glimpses, that glimpse we can call at will. It's not that we just have to wait, oh, now next time when I will have that connection. No, because of that conviction in our being of not remaining lost in our thoughts and feelings, we can make the being silent and make the being immobile, and we can have that descent, which purifies thoughts, feelings, and the body. Yeah. So, yeah, anything here, anyone? So, assuming there is nothing, let's take this next one also, because I feel this is just in continuation. We can take this also. Yeah, would anyone want to read?
Should I start from when I?
Yes.
Okay. When I prepare myself inwardly to practice silence, I have noticed that I center my consciousness by taking the help of the physical body. Then my attention sinks deeper, little by little. A moment comes when I must leave this point of support. Then I do not know where to fix my consciousness. Either it returns to external things, and I then become quite awake and attentive to the outer world, or I fall into a half-dream state, although keeping my consciousness for a time attentive. It is not necessary to fix the consciousness anywhere. When you begin to participate in the higher consciousness, you will find it diffuse, englobing everything and without any particular center. One makes for oneself one's own center above the head. In the beginning, what you're doing is natural, but let go. As for attention to the outer world, you will see also at one time all the phenomena, noises, etc., as though you were a part of them. You will embrace them in your consciousness. They will occur in it. The half dream state is not to be feared, but keep your consciousness attentive. It will then probably shift inwards. But have you succeeded in quietening your mind? Yes. In the first state, I take support. When I let go the support, I cannot yet stop the passing images. What kind of images, objects and beings, seen and known or unknown to you? I do not know. Some seem to me new, but perhaps I have already seen them. And what do you do then? I try to efface them. You must not do that. Wait and observe. Perhaps these images show a rudiment of clairvoyance. Perhaps you're seeing events which are happening at a distance. You must take the scientific attitude and see what it is. This may be a precious faculty. I've heard much about this faculty, but I did not think that the incoherent images I see could lead to it. This may be the beginning.
Yeah, thank you. So this thing, again, we see reflections of this in Jetsunma's sharing also, where she says that in the beginning, we start with, say, focusing on a particular object. At times, most of the times, the object of focus is the breath, or maybe at times she says that when she started first doing meditation seriously, then her lama, some Togden, he gave her a kind of a pebble, and she had to focus herself on that pebble. But what is important here is that she shares that the object is not of that importance, because slowly we see that we are able to take stance as uh, this awareness which is aware of all the things, so we become that open spacious, not become, actually become is the wrong word, I mean consciously we see that we are that open spacious awareness, as she uses the phrase, open spacious awareness in which all the things are happening. So here also I see a reflection of that, where he shares that it is not necessary to fix the consciousness anywhere, which can be used in the process, but it's not necessary. And when you begin to participate in the higher consciousness, which is this expansive consciousness, which is at one time aware of everything and aware of itself also, self-aware, we see that it is a kind of a diffused state. It's not very focused, concentrated, although that concentration may be part of the process, englobing everything and without any particular center. So this again comes, same thing comes in different words with Buddhist practice also. One makes for oneself one's own center above the head. In this case, in the beginning, what you are doing is natural. So what this focus is we are trying to do or concentrate, this is natural because we start with that, but slowly we have to let go of that rigid focus attention, and we have to slowly, it happens that we have glimpses of us consciously becoming aware that we are this consciousness, we are this awareness, which is aware of itself and of its surrounding, but it is not dependent upon the surroundings for its own presence. In fact, the surroundings may be dependent upon it. Like there is a screen, and on the screen there are images. Images are dependent upon the screen is not dependent upon the images. So like that. As for attention to the outer world, you will also see at one time all the phenomena, noises, etc., as though you were part of them. You will embrace them in your consciousness. They will occur in it. So just like on a screen, things are happening. So this is very important, because at times we may begin to sit and we are struggling, like, oh, I am trying to remember the mother's name, and why are these things happening to me, other thoughts and feelings, all of that is coming. But slowly we realize that we don't have to fight at all. that we have to take this stance consciously as this presence of awareness, in which the chanting of mother can also go on, and the rest left and right material is also present, but I give attention to what I want to give attention to. So no fighting is required. I don't have to say, oh, why it is still there, why it is not gone. Oh, my lust is there, my desire is there, my ambition is there, my jealousy is there, why are they there? So we don't have to fight because this is a fight that is it's a lost battle, because how can I fight with a mirage? How will I fight with a mirage? Because when we go closer, we see that the mirage does not exist. So fighting with all these lower emotions or disturbing natures, uh, manifestations, it is just a lost battle, and we don't have to fight. We have, that's what he shares, that embrace, that see that they are all there, like you are this vast open space in which all the buildings can be there, and the filth can be there, and the dirt can be there, and people can murder each other, but you are this vast open space. Nothing is happening to you, like a drama going on, but nothing, you are immortal, nothing is happening to you. So we become that vast, spacious, open awareness, as Ajit Sunma would put it. So that is very relaxing, that's very comforting when we can kind of get a glimpse of that. And this half dream state, which again most of us must have experienced, is also not to be feared, but keep your consciousness attentive. It will then probably shift inwards, but have you succeeded in quietening your mind? So emotionally dead. So see, what do we call? So Snehi is asking here something. She's sharing that, does it mean to have the attitude like of a stoic and being emotionally dead? Now, the premise that I am taking is, the basis I am taking is that what is a true emotion? These that I have. And if I am rising above these emotions or giving not any attention to them, then I am becoming emotionally dead. But how do I know that these are the true emotions that I need to cultivate? How am I sure? Because if they were true emotions that I needed to cultivate, then wouldn't they actually give me a feeling of contentment also? Now we are talking of all these disturbing emotions that are there. Whenever we have these human kind of love which is trying to grab and possess, along with that, as a bouquet, we have jealousy, we have lust, we have desire, we have wanting to control and dominate. Are we comfortable with that? That's the question we have to ask. So not taking as a premise that no, these are human emotions and this is what I should have, otherwise I am emotionally dead. So not taking it as a pathar ki lakir, questioning it, that if they were true emotions and they were true to my being, wouldn't I be content and easy with them? But I'm not easy with jealousy. Ambition doesn't make me easy. Lust makes me very restless. Greed also plays havoc in my being. So if we question, because these are the things that we label as being human, you know, being attached is what we label as being human. So in that sense, you are right actually, that it actually may become, to those emotions we are actually becoming dead. So this also has been said by Kabirji, Saint Kabir, where he says, die before you die. So we have to actually in other sense become dead to these things, because these are not true to our nature, because they are not uplifting in nature. They make us suffer and they pull us down and down, and there is nothing that we get through them. So in that sense we can actually say, because as Sri Aurobindo shares, where he talks about sadhana through human love, he says that people who have true kind of love, pure kind of love, to other people around who are very sentimental in nature, emotional in nature, they may actually appear very cold and indifferent at times, because their love is not possessive. They don't want things from you, they don't have personal interests from you. but they are just available, like they're there. If you interact, they are there, loving presence is there, but there nothing is there that is there they're wanting from you. So that attached kind of love is not there, sentimentality is not there, the tears that we have in the sentimental kind of relationships, they are not there. So we have to actually become dead to all of that if we want to rise to being a truly, you know, human being. We are not yet truly a human being, we are too animalistic in nature. So in that sense, actually what you have shared is true, I feel. Yeah, anything anyone wants to add on here?
Yeah, in some ways it's really amazing that, like, Nehi's question, it's everybody's question. Like, we know we have these things and we know they give us nothing but pain, trouble, stories, chaos. They keep us totally convolutedly attached and suppressed and whatever, whatever. And yet, when somebody says, कि अच्छा ये भी छोड़ दोगे? So we'll be like, oh, no, 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 that doesn't sound right. Like, we don't even see, like, the giving up or the change, the threat of a change is so much that we don't even see कि what are we giving up? Like, if I've been holding to a trash can and somebody says इसको भी फेंक दोगे, मतलब इसका trash फेंक दोगे, मतलब just the way that they say it, and I'll be like, I'll maybe doubt myself कि देखो trash है भी कि नहीं, right? So it's so funny when we look at, like, when I look at myself, and if there's something like this, I don't even question. Like, if I know, if this is also very common conversation, that if somebody says I don't want to get married, people would say कि अच्छा सब लोग यही करेंगे तो फिर दुनिया कैसे चलेगी? Right? Like, out of 8 billion people, if one person is saying or 50 are saying, so this doesn't make sense, right? Like we are not saying all of them or whatever. So I'm just saying that इट्स सो गुड टू सी कि बोल भी क्या रहे हैं, छोड़ भी क्या रहे हैं, फेंक भी क्या रहे हैं, rather than just thinking कि this will be let go or I'll have to throw it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, very true. And I think that is why we have to actually utterly become truly convinced. I think these are the helpful life experiences that we have. Because as you said that, so if somebody asks me to throw a trash, which actually is trash, but that person can see it as trash, but I don't see it as trash. So long as all these things are not trashy for me, so long as all these things for me is my human nature, though they don't make me suffer enough, they don't kill me actually, they actually can kill you, they can take you into such a deep depression that you may actually take up your life, things happen. Hmm? So long as such intensity we don't experience, then we are actually not convinced. What you were sharing, we are not convinced that they are trashy in nature, and that is why I won't throw it away. And that is the need of all our human experiences, because slowly through our human experiences we get convinced that now I am convinced this is trash and now I can throw it away. So but not before that. So I have like a couple of friends who, of course, I tried to convince that there is no need to get married, but they won't listen. They won't listen because everybody has to taste it first, because they think that there is something here I'm missing. So, and I actually used to wonder that why didn't my parents or my you know uh, whatever seniors, for example, who we call as relatives or people senior in age, senior in experience, why didn't they ever tell me that one can do without marriage, that please think about it, there is no need to get married. I was never told. Again, that is up to my dumbness, because I can see that it is a possibility. I was so dumb, but and not sharing that it is the worst kind of experience. It is just an experience amongst other experiences in our life. But we slowly only get convinced that actually no worldly experience can give us that true contentment, that true happiness that we are looking for in that experience. So for that, I have to taste it, get all the blows. Now I am convinced. That's why Kabir ji says, once you have ran enough, दौड़त दौड़त दौड़िया जहां लगी मन की दौड़, दौड़ थके मन स्थिर भया. अब हो गए कन्विंस. शादी कर ली, अच्छा बच्चे कर लिए, अच्छा जॉब कर ली, all of the things you have got मिला, then the mind can turn inward. So it is up to our, one can say, intelligence, because it is actually a dumbness that we don't listen to these hints and clues, and we have to repeat that experience for ourselves. The whole experience of the mankind is not as if enough. So when we go through that experience our own self, then we are convinced that हाँ अब समझ में आ गया, अब trash है, हाँ अब फेंक सकते हैं, like that. So we have to become convinced that what is trash and what is not trash, and like Snehi was asking that, does it mean becoming dead to those emotions? Actually, when we are becoming dead to those emotions that we call as human, we are actually rising to gain our true kingdom of humanity, which is the true feelings, true emotions, which is kindness, goodwill, compassion, generosity, ethical conduct, openness of the heart. Then actually we make space for truer emotions. So it is not that it is just becoming dead. We are becoming dead to something which is now not beneficial anymore, so that we can make a large room. In Savitri, if you remember, there was this line, a fire which seemed like a body of God, consumed all the limiting figures of past and made a large room for a new self to live. So this is what is the process, that we are burning the old limiting figures which are not serving us anymore, so that we are making a space for a large newer self to live. वो भी तो हम ही हैं. So we are not doing a sacrifice, we are actually making space for a new creation. So in that sense, if we can take it, but of course we need all kinds of experience, innumerable experiences of our own unfolding of life, before we are convinced that yes, now I need to make space, a larger space, and let me consume, let this fire of aspiration consume all these limiting figures of past, my jealousy, my ambition, the focus on me, my story, my relationships. I want happiness from that, I want that person, just letting go of all these obscurities which are not letting me make space for a newer creation. So then we make a conscious choice, and no trash as trash. As Sri Aurobindo shares in Savitri, that for a long time these are just our cherished guests. The thoughts of jealousy, the thoughts of claiming another person as mine, and why didn't that person smile at me? These are all our cherished guests for a very, very long time. They don't appear to us as a trash. Someone may say that, why are you wasting your time on this? This is all trash. But I am not convinced. So I have to go through that pain. That is why a full canto on problem of pain is there. Because I need that whip of pain. Otherwise, I am not convinced. For you, it may not have happened, but my marriage will succeed. I will find satisfaction in my companionship. You didn't get it. So all of us need to go through all innumerable repeated experiences. If we see mankind, look at the history of mankind, repeated experiences of so many different sorts, and yet it takes again an individual experience so that I am convinced that no, jealousy is not good for me, or my anger is burning me, my whatever, all these excessive focus on me is burning me. So individual experiences have their own value. We somehow can't deny it. Unfortunate or fortunate. It's very interesting. That is all we can say. So again, we just finished this up. So he says that I'm seeing images. That what kind of images? and then I try to efface, like hat ja samne se, I try to ignore them. And then Sri Aurobindo says that there is no need to efface the images, because at times when things are silent and the being is receptive, we also have telepathic, or these events which are coming to us, which we have kind of a vision, like clairvoyance. We get to know of these things which may be happening at the moment but physically separate from us, or these things which are going to happen in future but I already knew. So these kind of things happen when the mind is stable, when the mind is silent, it is receptive, the garbage in the mind is not there. Then we actually get visions and kind of these insights and intuitive perceptions. So he says that there is no need to efface these images, just be observant, because at times they may be showing us something. So don't try to push them all away, that oh, I have to hata this and I have to remove this away, and like that. Yeah. So anything here, anyone?
So when I was reading the book, Jitsunma mentions about renunciation. And she says sometimes the obvious renunciation of, let's say, physical comfort, luxuries, home, and all is much easier compared to a renunciation of memories, relationships. And sorry, I'm breathless because I'm walking also. So um, for me, it was very interesting, because when we say, okay, now I've become very saintly, I don't need material pleasures. But you see, there's so much mental chatter about memories. Like when you go to a friend's place, or you go to your in-laws' place, or anything, you you prejudge. You prejudge based on memories. Ki, this is the experience last time I had, so I'm going to be a little more careful this time. I'm going to be not as open. I'm not going to be as friendly. And she speaks, actually, renunciation is about all of this, like renunciation from the comfort of a known relationship, the memory baggage that we carry. So it's interesting when you say that while we are meditating, we might have some visual imagery. A lot of times I feel it's related to my chatter. So how do you kind of not go into it, and yet sometimes you feel, okay, this might be something more and you want to get into it?
Yeah, very.
That kind of differentiation is tough.
Yeah, but it's it may be tough, but actually not that tough. Because see, अगर हमको उन experiences, images, relationships से अब कुछ नहीं चाहिए, if those relationships, if those things and happenings of my life actually hold no promise for me, like you have seen their truth, in the sense that all this worldly sansaric happenings, relationship, workplace, my storyline, there is nothing true that they can give us, like no true fulfillment they can give us. If we have seen that enough, then we will actually be convinced to not enter into it. And at times, through discernment, we will also know that maybe they are showing some mirror to me, like something on which I have to work upon. We will know. This I can, actually share, that we will know, because we have this discerning quality of mind, intelligence in the mind, that if we are observant enough, detached enough, then we will know whether this is just a jugali or rumination of our uh, past, present, and future things, or whether really there is some intuitive insight or something where I can work. We will know. All of us have that innate intelligence. And whenever we are trying to,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, when even if by chance we try to get into it and it's actually just a rumination, then also we will get to know that, oh, I just actually got swept away. It was nothing there. That also we will know. And I was sharing.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that makes sense. Thank you.
Today it occurred to me that all these tenses, है ना, जो English grammar, we call this past tense and present tense and future tense. We have all these tenses. And I thought that I wonder who made this name tense, because it actually makes us so tense. All the things and happening of the past tense and the future, that makes us tense, and the present commentary in our head, that also makes us tense. And when we come to the present moment, then we actually don't use the word tense, because it is actually, the present moment is not making us tense, it is actually resolving those knots which are given to us by all these other tenses. So I found it very hilarious. That person must have some sense of humor, whoever designated the term. Yeah. So any last comments or reflections, anyone? Okay, so then we can maybe pause here for today, just taking a last moment of silence to dedicate whatever individual or collected merit we may have, giving it all away, sharing it with all the sentient beings, near and far, whether we are friends with them or not really friends, doesn't matter. Wishing them true wellness, true happiness, and may we all not suffer, and may all the causes of suffering be also taken away from us. Wishing everyone a good day or a good night.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you.